The Freemasons, Rosicrucians, Illuminati, orders known to mankind that probably still dictate some of the most important events in the world, standing in the shadows. Whether it's a mystery of their rituals, the intrigue of their secret activities, or the occult knowledge they carry over the centuries, these orders and brotherhoods continue to captivate our imagination with their mystery. Get to where they are today, the New World Order conspiracy and the fate of human civilization. Behind all this stands a mystery called the Order of Sion, a secret society founded in the 11th century that played an essential role in preserving certain esoteric knowledge.
Who are you?
There have been many names. Guardians,
the Priory of Sion.
The Order of Sion is believed to be dedicated to the mystical bloodline of Jesus and Mary Magdalene and the sacred teachings passed down to their descendants, and is credited with creating the Knights Templar. But did the Order of Sion really exist? How was it created? Were its members initiated into ancient secret knowledge, mysteries, and spiritual beliefs? We will try to find out together in the new episode of Secret Origins. Welcome. The Order of Sion is shrouded in mystery and not much is known about it. Because of the limited and conflicting information about it, its very existence has long been doubted, and the alleged activities it engaged in are often overlooked. This secret brotherhood gained attention and fame only a few decades ago, in 1982, after it was featured in several books and documentaries, including the book The Holy Blood and the Holy Grail by researcher Michael Bagent and the Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. Also known as the Priory of Sion, this old and highly influential order has been led by a series of Grand Masters, including such notables as Leonardo da Vinci, Victor Hugo, and Isaac Newton. The main source of information about the Order of Sion is a series of documents that were deposited in the National Library in Paris in the 1960s and which, taken together, are known as the secret dossiers. Most of the works included there relate to the Merovingian dynasty and revolve around the famous mystery of Rennes-le-Château. Rennes-le-Château is a small village in the south of France, in the Languedoc region, which became famous in 1885 when the priest Béranger Saunier discovered old scrolls in the local church that contained a valuable secret. Saunier had discovered documents of a secret brotherhood called the Order of Sion, charged with the task of guarding the offspring of Jesus Christ. Perhaps these secret files would seem like fictional nonsense, but in fact the scale of the work to create them and the sources cited in them to support their claims lent credibility. Even the French writer Gérard de Side, who has devoted much time to disproving the alleged Merovingian evidence given in the secret files, admits that scientific and academic resources and studies that have gone into them are disproportionately large and significant. According to the secret files, the Order of Sion was founded nearly 1,000 years ago during the Crusades and has existed without interruption ever since, led by some of the greatest names in history. The text claims that the Order of Sion was founded by Godfrey of Bouillon in 1090, 9 years before the capture of Jerusalem, although other documents of the Brotherhood exist which give a different date, the year 1099. During the First Crusade, Jerusalem, which until then was under Muslim rule, was conquered by the Crusaders. It is believed that sometime after the Second Crusade, the Orders of the Templars and that of Sion became practically one organization, led by a single Grand Master. But in 1188, a division occurred in their ranks and they took different paths. During this period, the Order of the Templars acquired incredible power. The Order's financial condition is such that it gives out loans to bankrupt royal families in exchange for protecting their interests. This is how the banking system was created. There is an assumption that the Templars blackmailed the Church of Rome with discovered documents related to the story we know about Jesus. What happens next? 2 years after the death of King Baldwin IV of Jerusalem, Jerusalem was again captured by the Muslims, and the Templars could not withstand the pressure and left the city. The two orders then parted ways. The Order of Sion outlived the Templars, which ceased to exist in 1307 and survived through the centuries to the present day, taking a new name, Sionus Prioratus, meaning Priory of Sion, and its master was Jean de Gisors, who also considered himself a Merovingian. According to the secret files, from 1691 to 1727, the Order's Grand Master was none other than Isaac Newton, the man considered by many to be the greatest and the most influential scientist who ever lived. But let's once again return to the question of whether the role of the Order is really so great. The most common story believed by proponents of the theory that the Order really existed is that its purpose was to preserve the bloodline of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. In short, it is believed that Jesus and Mary Magdalene were married and had children. When Jesus was crucified, Mary fled to France with her children. Thus, the descendants of Jesus settled there and started the Merovingian dynasty. These are the royal dynasty of the Franks, who, throughout the 5th and 8th century, imposed their power in the lands of the territory of today's France, Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands. The heirs of the dynasty hid in the Languedoc region of southern France, and more precisely in the now legendary village of Rennes-le-Château. According to the theory, the mission of the Order of Sion was precisely to protect and defend the interests of the Merovingian family. But isn't it strange and difficult to imagine how such great personalities as Leonardo da Vinci or Isaac Newton were inspired and motivated for such a long time only by the idea of protecting the interests of a long-vanished dynasty? Our research led us to two rather provocative books, The Templar Revelation and The Revelation of Sion, according to which the secret of the Order is not simply about preserving the bloodline of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, nor it is related to the Holy Grail. The secret is related to John the Baptist, to the knowledge that the initiated disciples had, and to the true role of women in society. The story they tell is that in the Holy Lands, Godfrey of Bouillon during the First Crusade came across an organization called the Church of John, an esoteric church of initiates who presented a tradition based on the primacy of the spirit. Thus, at the beginning of the 12th century, we collected the spiritual and temporal means by which Godfrey de Bouillon's supreme dream could be realized. The members of the Templar Order would become the sword bearers of the Church of John and the standard bearers of the First Dynasty, weapons that obey the spirit of Sion. The conclusions the authors reach about the true secrets held by Sion are quite daring and perhaps not accepted by many, but we will share them simply as another interesting and thought-provoking perspective. They believe that Jesus was a disciple of John the Baptist, and that John's religious teachings were essentially those of the Egyptian mystery religion of Isis, Osiris, and Horus. They claim that Jesus was initiated into the inner circle of John the Baptist. Mary Magdalene had a ritualized sacred relationship with Jesus in accordance with their religious beliefs, and as his initiate in the sacred mysteries, had an equal relationship with Jesus. The disciples of Jesus were not so initiated into the inner mysteries of his teachings, and the term Christ had a different meaning to the participants in the biblical text than it does today. The books support the theory that many of the images and stories in the canonical New Testament are actually adaptations of older ones found in other religious traditions and are not unique. And Jesus is one of the many initiates in the ancient knowledge, who actually shows how to apply this knowledge. Even the authors of the books suggest that Leonardo da Vinci may have been sending hidden messages through his art that could be only understood by others who were open to their meaning. If on the surface these paintings appear to represent simple biblical images, they actually reveal his belief into the true role of John the Baptist. I woke up only to find that the rest of the world was still asleep. Leonardo is a very interesting case. It seems that there is indeed some secret organization behind Leonardo's bias But is it really the Brotherhood of Sion, as some claim? If he was indeed a member of Sion, then this secret society played a significant role in his life, and his influential patrons, Lorenzo de' Medici and King Francois I of France, probably also belonged to it. If you find from your experience that something is a fact and contradicts what some authority has written, then you must renounce the authority and base your reasoning on your own discovery. Certainly, the Brotherhood of Sion exerted a strong and perhaps unique influence on Leonardo and several other Renaissance artists. Like modern Freemasonry, the fraternity offered material and social benefits, facilitating the path of the young artist through the most influential European palace circles. But for Leonardo da Vinci, this was not the only thing he sought. Whatever organization he participated in, it clearly suited his spirit as much as his material interests. Besides the role of John, the other very important biblical figure for the order is of course Mary Magdalene. The story goes that Mary Magdalene arrived in Palestine by the sea and settled in southern France, where her earthly journey ended. Interestingly, her influence is so strong that in the region she is not only revered, but also loved with a strange passion to this day. The story of Mary Magdalene as a repentant sinner is later creation specifically of the Church, and the image in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John has nothing to do with the one invented by the Church. In fact, apart from the Virgin Mary, Mary Magdalene is the only woman named by name in the 4 canonical Gospels. The significance of Mary Magdalene gains a whole new force when we remember that she was present at the crucifixion and she was the first witness to the resurrection of Jesus. Although the moment of the discovery of the empty tomb is retold different in the 4 Gospels, there is unanimity everywhere regarding the first witness of the resurrected Jesus. According to the Gospels, Mary Magdalene is not only the first female witness but also the first person to see Jesus after he came out of the tomb, a fact that is kept silent by many who consider only the male followers of Christ to be his true apostles. The authority of Paul, accordingly, of the church institution is rooted in the belief that Paul was the first of Jesus' disciples to see the resurrected Jesus. But the texts of the New Testament say otherwise and contradict the official church teaching on the matter. Not Paul, but it's precisely Mary Magdalene. But there's more. She's not only the first person to witness the resurrection, but she's also the first disciple to receive a direct command from Jesus, who orders her to announce his resurrections to the other disciples. It was not until the church became a formal institution under the influence of Saint Paul that the role of women was reduced to minimum. The process is also retrospective. In other words, although women did not play a secondary role in the early Christian religion, Paul and his supporters tried to push them aside and downplay their presence in history. What is the role of the Cathars in the whole story of the Order of Sion? There are several legends that connect the Cathars with the Holy Grail and Mary Magdalene. One relates that the Cathars possess secret knowledge or relics related to Jesus and Mary, suggesting that the Holy Grail was actually a bloodline descended from Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And it was the Cathars who were among the keepers of this bloodline, with some suggesting that the Cathars themselves were descendants of Jesus and Mary and that they were persecuted by the Catholic Church for possessing this secret knowledge. What happens next? In 1209, the Catholic Church began the Albigensian Crusade, also known as the Cathar Crusade, which lasted for over 20 years. The goal: to wipe out the Cathars. At the time, the Cathars were concentrated in the Languedoc region of southern France, and the Pope, supported by the French monarchy, began a military campaign to suppress them. The Albigensian campaign resulted in the deaths of tens of thousands of people, both Cathars and Catholics, and the brutal tactics used by the Crusaders, including mass burnings and massacres, making it one of the most famous and controversial moments in European history. The papacy declared the Order of the Templars as heretics, dissolved it, and the Knights Templar were tortured and burned. The Order of Sion however, survives. Perhaps it operated undercover and continued to carry its secrets. It is speculated that at some point it morphed into the Order of the Rose and Cross and influenced the development of Masonic lodges, giving impetus to the creation of new secret societies. The story of the Order of Sion may sound too much like a conspiracy and difficult to accept, but while the evidence is unquestionably in favor of doubters and non-believers, it would be a mistake to dismiss this view of the order for its own sake, at least until we find answers to some important questions. The first and most obvious of which is why would anyone sit down and put so much effort into such a fiction? And let us not forget or delude ourselves that if the Order of Sion is a fiction, a hoax, there is hardly a more well-executed speculation in history, but for that alone, it is worth investigating. Please do tell us in the comments down below what do you think about the Order of Sion. We bow before you and thank you for watching another episode of Secret Origins. Keep your minds open, and until we meet again.